Like many American families with school-age children and two working spouses, we rely on a shared electronic calendar. It's accessible from all our phones, tablets, and computers. When used properly, it keeps us updated on each other's activities, a clear improvement over the old method of leaving notes on the fridge. It's also great for avoiding those classic arguments like, "You didn't tell me," or "If only I had known." A few weeks ago, I saw an entry my wife, Rebecca, added to the calendar. It was for an awards dinner scheduled on October 18th at the Hilton Hotel downtown. She hadn't mentioned it to me personally, so I assumed my presence wasn't required. Then, at 4:37 p.m. on the day of the event, I received a text from Rebecca's phone. "You need to check your personal email immediately. I've sent an explanation as to why I won't be home tonight." Puzzled, I quickly opened my email. There, in my inbox, was a message timestamped just 2 minutes earlier. What I read left me stunned. Subject: tonight's plans. From Rebecca to Paul. Paul, as you know, there's an important awards dinner tonight honoring the top securities brokers in the state. I'm being recognized as Broker of the Year. Since I know you don't enjoy these kinds of events, I've decided to attend with a colleague, Jason Stewart. Jason and I share a strong mutual attraction and have been flirting for months. Although we haven't crossed the line into full-blown infidelity, we have engaged in behavior inappropriate for a married woman. After the dinner, Jason and I plan to spend the night together in a suite at the Hilton Hotel. For the next 12 hours, I intend to engage in intimate and sexual acts with him. I do not consider this cheating because I'm being upfront with you. I'll return home afterward, fully committed to our marriage. Having cast this temptation aside, I'll be faithful to you moving forward. You know I love you, Paul. I'm confident this experience will strengthen our bond. Yours always, Rebecca. What would you do if you received a message like this? Would you explode in anger, quietly accept it, disrupt the event, inform the man's wife, or grab a Louisville Slugger? Or perhaps none of the above? To understand how I responded, you need to know a bit about our marriage and my perspective. Despite what you might assume, Rebecca and I didn't have a bad marriage. From a passionate courtship through 18 years of marriage, we had regular and fulfilling intimacy. It wasn't our personal life, but our professional lives that revealed a stark contrast. Rebecca was a star in the business world. Top of her class in business school and heavily recruited by leading brokerage firms. She carved out a thriving career as a financial advisor. I, on the other hand, am a tax accountant. Early in my career, I developed tax preparation software, which I sold to a major retailer. That success allowed me to start a home-based business. Over the years, I improved the software with updates and new features, ensuring a steady income. Working from home made me the natural choice as the primary caregiver for our two daughters, Julia and Elizabeth, who were 16 and 17 years old at the time of Rebecca's startling email. So, when faced with Rebecca's shocking admission, I had to weigh everything: our history, her confession, and the life we had built together. How would you handle such a moment? I proudly embraced my role as Mr. Mom to our daughters. I attended all their sporting events, parent-teacher conferences, and even baked cakes for school fundraisers. When they got scrapes, I cleaned them up. When their feelings were hurt, I comforted them. I helped them with homework, guided them through special projects, and ensured they were happy, healthy, and thriving. Yes, I even had to talk about menstruation, which probably embarrassed me more than it did them. None of this felt like an obligation. I loved being their dad and being a big part of their lives. Another unique aspect of our marriage was how we managed our finances. From the beginning, Becca was fiercely protective of what she called her money. I was more comfortable with the idea of pooling assets, but Becca refused. Her father had left her mother financially destitute, and she grew up determined to avoid that fate. Because of her upbringing, Becca kept her accounts, savings, and investments entirely separate from mine. She handled her own finances, even filing her taxes independently, despite the fact that filing jointly would have saved us money. The house we lived in was inherited from my grandmother and was in my name. However, Becca did her part financially by contributing to a joint checking account we use for shared expenses, like the kids' needs, groceries, utilities, and other essentials. This system worked for us, but it also meant we never built any significant shared assets or marital property. Despite the separation in our finances, we had an incredibly fulfilling and intimate relationship. A typical evening went something like this. Becca would come bursting through the door, larger than life, just in time to kiss the girls goodnight. She'd tell them how proud she was of them before turning her attention to me. After a quick recap of my day, she'd change out of her business suit, jump into the shower, and then emerge in her favorite wifey t-shirt. She'd grab a glass of wine, eat some leftovers, and listen to me recount our day in detail. Occasionally, she'd talk about her own day, but not often or in great depth. What was predictable, however, was her desire for intimacy. 4 or 5 nights a week, she would tell me outright, "Tonight is the night." Becca was a confident, sexy woman who knew what she wanted, and she wasn't shy about it. Spending so much time around men in her professional life made her frank about her needs, including her sexual preferences. Let's face it, I'm a guy. When a beautiful, confident woman like Becca leads you to the bedroom, you go without hesitation. At 38, with 2 teenage daughters, Becca was in incredible shape. Her daily workouts at the company gym kept her trim and toned. Her figure was as youthful as a woman a dozen years younger. Her breasts had become fuller after the pregnancies, and though there was a hint of sagging, I never noticed or cared. During the day, she wore tight, professional bras under her business attire, but in the evenings, she'd sit with me at the kitchen table in her t-shirt, sipping wine, and enjoying the freedom of being bra-free. Becca was unapologetically open about her sexual desires. If she was feeling particularly needy, she had no qualms about saying so. Becca was never shy about her desires. On some nights, she would simply pull off her shirt and lead me to the bedroom. Even fresh out of the shower, I could sometimes sense her undeniable lust. Our first round of sex was always quick and intense, almost primal. Whatever thoughts had been running through her mind all day no longer mattered in that moment. Afterward, we'd lie together, slowly unwinding and talking about the day. These moments of relaxation naturally led to a more sensual, intimate second round. This time, it wasn't about urgency, it was about connection. It felt closer to real lovemaking, with Becca taking her time to caress and stroke, building us back up for another passionate encounter. Becca was like a machine powered by passion. It was as if this erotic energy fueled the incredible force of her personality. Over the years, I willingly provided the fuel she needed. After all, what man would turn down a gorgeous, confident woman who loved to have fun? But was she a wife I could completely trust? The honest answer was no. It wasn't any single event or action that caused me to doubt her. It was her entire demeanor, coupled with the shroud of secrecy that surrounded her life, especially her finances. In the early years, when the children were young, I loved Becca deeply. But as time passed and she became more absorbed in her career, my feelings began to shift. I started seeing her less as a loving life partner and more as an exciting and desirable sex partner. For the past decade, I wouldn't have been shocked or confused if she had announced she wanted a divorce. The response. So, how did I respond to her shocking announcement that night? At 4:45 p.m., I sent her a brief text. "Becca, I do not support, endorse, or in any way approve of your actions. Paul." At midnight, I sent another message, this one much longer. "Becca, I can't say I'm surprised by your statement. For years, I've suspected you had something or someone on the side. Thank you for confirming my suspicions in writing. Don't bother coming back to this house in the morning. Judge Arnold Crater has issued a restraining order, effective immediately, prohibiting you from coming near me, the girls, or this home for the next 10 days. During that time, you'll be served with divorce papers, including a proposed property division. Good luck with your new man. Is he planning to get a divorce too, or will his wife be joining you both in bed? Paul, P.S. Your clothes, cosmetics, and any identifiable electronics will be delivered to a warehouse tomorrow. I'll email you the address and contact information once it's available. Becca's reply was venomous. Bastard, get a divorce if you want, but when I'm done with you, I'll have custody of the kids, the house, and all the measly assets you managed to scrape together. Jason was great, by the way. You're easily replaced in the bedroom, loser. What she didn't realize was that I had been preparing for this moment for over a decade. From the time our marriage began to fracture, I had started planning for a possible separation and divorce. More than 10 years ago, I transferred all rights to my software designs to an offshore entity. I received a salary in return, which was funneled almost entirely into a pension plan, coincidentally similar in size to Becca's. My remaining salary, deposited into our joint account, covered daily expenses, leaving me without personal investments that could be divided. The house was always in my name, inherited from my grandmother, and I continued to pay taxes on my paycheck, giving the appearance of complete transparency. The result of my planning was that the marital assets were minimal: a small checking account, some furniture, a single painting, and the family dog. All credit cards, cars, and electronics were in individual names, a direct result of Becca's own paranoia about financial independence. Ironically, her efforts to shield her finances from me ended up protecting mine from her. When her law firm responded to my divorce petition, my legal team and I were fully prepared. The judge granted me full custody of the girls, as it was clear they wanted to stay with me. Becca couldn't name a single teacher, friend, doctor, or prom date of theirs, except for the dentist she had sold a retirement plan to. The court ordered her to pay child support until the girls turned 18. The house, of course, remained mine. Spousal support became another reminder of my dear ex-wife's departure, though it was a minor addition compared to what I had secured offshore. During the proceedings, it was revealed that Becca's net worth was $12.5 million. My legal entitlement was considerably less, but that hardly mattered. Soon, I'd be heading to the Cayman Islands to explore investment opportunities. There might be a pot of gold waiting for me yet. For a fleeting moment, I missed the intense passion Becca used to bring into the bedroom. That nostalgia didn't last long. A local women's network organized a group to support Paul Weston, and I quickly became their enthusiastic helper. Divorced and widowed women, it seemed, had needs too. Occasionally, I received advances from married women, but I avoided those situations out of principle. Eventually, I met Sally, a widowed woman whose daughters were in the same grades as mine. They were already friends and in a support group together, which made things easier. Sally and I took our time getting to know each other, both in and out of the bedroom, and I found myself surprised to experience real love again at 41. By the time Sally and I became serious, 2 of our daughters were off to college, and the others were close behind. The last I heard about Becca was that she was sued for alienation of affection by Jason's wife, and subsequently fired for violating her firm's fraternization policy.